Morning. Welcome to Peak Cycles episode 71, and it is raining, mid-50s, a little cool side for Southern California. Mid-December, holidays around the corner, and feels good. Before we get started, I have a couple shout-outs, quick shout-outs, and I had the privilege of hanging out with the LP Cruisers from Phoenix, Arizona a few weeks ago, and I couldn't help but notice their club shirt. We're in mid-conversation, and just totally distracted me and caught my attention, so they sent me one. I find that quite clever, and now officially one of my favorite t-shirts. Thanks guys, super appreciate it. Second shout out is to Mika out of Germany, who puts these calendars together every year, 12-month calendar, and basically he asks social media to send him photos to submit and have your bike, there you go, featured in the calendar. I'm not sure if you noticed these in the past. I have two calendars hanging up here, and I made the cut for 2019, 2020. I didn't make the cut for 21, but Peak Cycles is back for 22 and the hot rod, and greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, guys. If you're interested in this calendar, I'm not sure if Mika still has them available, but he can be found on social media, or just email him at the email address shown there below. Moving on to this week's episode, and I had a client reach out, somebody I didn't know, and he's well over 6 feet tall and has been riding a full-size Schwinn 26-inch bicycle. And in order for him to ride it, because he's tall, is he's literally using a laid-back seat post that's damn near a foot tall. So he reached out, not in search of a stretch frame to fit him, but he asked if I could do an oversized Schwinn frame to accommodate 29-inch wheels. I'm like, sure. So he sent me measurements, and here's an illustration of a standard 26-inch frame. And what I've done is I've jotted down numbers. The lower number is the current measurements of the frame, and then the higher number is the measurements of what the client is asking for. Now, I could have just took this illustration and blew it up to accommodate 29-inch wheels, but that's no fun. And if I did that, the numbers wouldn't be quite the way that he's asking for as far as his arm length and inseam and frame to the ground, etc. So we are going to do this frame from scratch. So let's go ahead and hit the shop and see what's happening with Peak Cycles. As mentioned, we're going to start with this down tube here, which is pretty much the most involved piece of the frame. Kind of has that S shape there. And what I've done is I've taken a stick, run it through the roller bender, cut it in half, and then flip one side. See, we have it sleeved here. I'm going to weld it up, grind it smooth, and keep it going. And there you go. As you just saw, we used the handy dandy Blue Rock pipe sander or polisher. Came out pretty sweet. What we're gonna do now, set up the frame jig. Gonna jump in here real quick and get a better look at this calendar. Kind of a weak presentation in that first segment. And these guys work hard on these calendars. Again, each month featuring a different bike from all over the world. Beautifully done, perfect for the shop or office. And again, if you're interested, hit up Mika if he still has them. If not, keep an eye out for his message next year so you can have your bike featured. Moving back into the shop, and I do breakdowns on tools all the time, and I did do an entire segment on this past episode. What happens is a whole slew of episodes will go by, and by the time you see the tool again, or if you're new to watching Peak Cycles, people message me, what is that tool? So you saw me using this. This is a pipe sander or polisher. It can be used just like this. or I prefer to bench mount it like you saw in the video, and I just put it in the vise here and then run back and forth. It is made by Blue Rock Tools and very practical. Let's keep it moving. Much different than what I'd normally run with the stretch frames. This is a traditional Schwinn style frame, much higher head tube, shorter wheelbase. But I think I got it, and time to keep it moving. Like butter. Looking good there. Looking good downstairs. Go ahead and move on to the top tube. Back on the table. Going to take a look at our measurements and copings. Look good there. We're shooting for 28-inch spread between the head tube and the seat tube here, and that's where we're at here. 26 inches here. That's where we're at here. And we're going to hole saw the seat tube through the top tube because I have an idea for a seat clamp. Let's keep it moving. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of pinstriping tape here and ran it parallel with the seat tube and up over the top tube to give me an idea of where I need to hole saw both the top and bottom areas coming in at an angle. It might seem a little strange right now, but let me go ahead and get drilling and you'll get a better idea here in a minute. And so here you go, part 2. I pressed the tape all the way down and it's going to give me a general area of where I need the hole to come out from the bottom and on the top. Again, like I said, it's going to be hole sawed at an angle. It's going to run all the way through. Wish me luck. And so here we are, basically giving me general area of where I need to hole saw over the top and the bottom. You can see here, it's not just a straight down shot, so I'll go ahead and start drilling. I know what you're thinking. Piece of tape, really? And I do these videos with in mind that people don't have all the necessary tools to finish the job. In this case, I needed a angle finder, of which I don't have. I know it sounds strange, being in a fab shop, don't have an angle finder. However, I have an angle cube or angle reader, which I use all the time. But this works differently. An angle finder looks much like a movie clacker. And the proper way to do it would have been to just find the angle, set the angle on the notcher, good to go. What I did is I essentially snapped a line, like you snap a chalk line in construction, ran that blue tape up over the top of the top tube, ran the pen line, and that gave me my angle. Throw the stick into the notcher. Whatever you got to do to make it work. Let's keep it going. Just did a mock-up on the frame jig, and we are very close to where we want to be. And it's so hard to hold the camera and show you that, so we're going to move on to the next steps here, and then I'll show you when we get this back on the frame jig. Meanwhile, we're going to cut off this top tube in the same direction as this seat tube, so it looks nice. I'm going to cap it off, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this opening and why it was so important to get this to go through the top tube. I wanted this seat tube to run through this top tube. Wait a second. Time out. Basically what happened at the end of that video is I realized that I don't need the 1-inch piece, the piece that I used for the clamp. And the reason being is the actual seat tube on the frame is 1.25 inches, then I sleeved 1.125 inches, then 1 inch for a 7/8 piece to slip inside for the seat post. I could have went heavier gauge on the actual tube of the frame. I tried 13 and a 1-inch piece is still too loose in there, so I'd had to go like 11 gauge, and then you have this heavy piece of steel right in the middle. I didn't want to do that. So it's 1.25 to 1.125 inches, and then I realized that most seat tubes are 1 inch that recess to 7/8. I'm so used to welding a piece of 7/8 on my frame, I was thinking 7/8 into 1 inch. So the 1 inch is out. I got to recut the opening for the 1.125 inch, and we just need the one sleeve piece. Good to go. But not till next week. That's pretty much going to wrap it up. Going to try and squeeze in one more episode before we hit the holidays. So I hope you enjoyed today's version of what's happening at Peak Cycles. And until next time, make it a killer day! Made by Blue Rock Tools. And I prefer to bench mount it, so I'm just taking this end here and I'm putting it in the vise. The vise. It's called a vise. And I do breakdowns on tools all the time. And I did a breakdown on this tool, although I know a slew of episodes will go by, and then you'll see the tool again, and then I get messages, people asking what that is. So in this case, you saw me using this pipe or sanding pipe sander or polisher. That's what it is. I know what you're thinking. Really? A piece of tape? And I do these videos because not everybody has all the fabrication tools needed. In this case, the right way, or more, what's the word? Efficient way? Think about that. Basically what happened at the end of that video is what happened. Basically what happened at the end of that video is I realized I don't need the 1-inch piece. So basically the frame piece is 1.25 inches going down, sleeved with 1.125 inches, and then 1 inch. Oh, I'm already recording.